Hello, and welcome to Benny's Alternate Universe. This is a show where I invite you to step into my world, check out what's going on in my tape collection and what's good. Got an awesome tape to check out tonight by the legendary horror punk innovators Misfits with lead singer Glenn Danzig. This was their final album, Earth AD. I'm not really interested in non-Danzig Misfits for the simple reason that, as far as I could tell, he was the main guy. He was the main songwriter, and he conceptualized the whole thing. And I'm just not interested in the continuing legacy of the Misfits concept so much as what's Glenn Danzig doing, because he's like Tom G. Warrior, who's another favorite of mine, is a real unique guy, a real kind of goes by the beat of his own drum, it seems. And as the lead singer of Misfits, he created this horror punk style that incorporated the devil lock hairstyle and face paint and being muscular and whatever. So Misfits' discography is kind of screwed up, and what happened with Misfits is they tried to release an album in '78, OG status, called Static Age, and that never ended up coming out until approximately about 1997, which was a damn shame because it's a great album. So their first official full-length after a slew of 7 inches and EPs and what have you was called Walk Among Us, classic. Had a lot of great tunes, such as Hate Breeders, Nike A Go-Go, Astro Zombies, I believe Teenagers from Mars was on there, I believe, 20 Eyes, I don't know, it's just off the top, but this is really kind of the, Skulls, I think, was on there. It's classic Misfits sound, catchy, spooky, awesome, and they followed up Walk Among Us in '82 with Earth AD / Wolf's Blood, and we'll get into that in a minute because I've learned some really interesting stuff about Earth AD. And what happened during the very short period of time between when Walk Among Us was released, and Walk Among Us had some hardcore elements, Misfits adopted a much more hardcore sound for Earth AD, and it was an awesome sound for Misfits for a lot of reasons. They hooked up with the drummer of Black Flag at the time, Robo, as well as Spot, who had just come off producing Damaged for Black Flag. And, of course, that was a landmark kind of album for punk fans and hardcore fans. Very important album. So he's on the throne, and it was not a minor thing because he rages all over this album. His drumming is just sick, and I think it's really definitely a crucial element to what makes Earth AD so good. And the other crucial elements would be Danzig's vocal is totally raw and ripping. I think maybe it's not as hook-laden as it would be on some of their other albums, or all their other albums, but there are a lot of hooks. they're just not so much melodic as they're just ferociously declared, you know, like shouted and declared. Very, very, a lot of strength behind the vocal, which is to be expected from Glenn Danzig, but it's a very ferocious, kind of vicious energy to it, like an animal. And that's not for nothing, because I have learned that Earth AD / Wolf's Blood was in fact a double concept album, and it made it so interesting for this review. And I hope that I can share some things with you that maybe you didn't know about the album, or that I didn't know, or some new insights, because I've been listening to Earth AD for a good long many years. It's definitely one of my favorite Misfits albums. I mean, all their albums are great, and it's definitely one of their best albums, and maybe it is their best album. It's the only album they ever made that sounds like this. It's their most hardcore album. It's crushing. It's really punishing album, but also really catchy. Anyway, so side A is the Earth AD side, and I guess this was kind of concept about the post-apocalyptic world, and we have the opening track Earth AD, which the lyrics are talking about how it's gonna be a bad time, guns are God now, and I bet you're gonna like it in Earth AD. And then we hear about some of the characters of this new world: Queen Wasp, Devilock. Devilock is absolutely sick, hardcore, melodic hardcore. I don't know. It's so good. It's one of my favorite Misfits tunes ever. Death Comes Ripping, killer. In Death Comes Ripping, there's like this heat, or this some kind of furnace that's ripping you apart and killing you, and then you descend down into Green Hell. And Green Hell, for me, like a lot of people, is one of the first Misfits songs I ever heard when it was covered by Metallica on the 598 Garage Days Revisited EP, along with Last Caress. And it's kind of interesting because Last Caress would be the more melodic and tongue-in-cheek kind of side of Misfits, and Green Hell is the thrashy Earth AD style. How did you have it in the wood? Such a great tune. And then after that, because I have the cassette version, Mommy Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight is actually a bonus track to the original release. The original release, I found out, was only 14 and a half minutes long, with the side A that I just ran down. But Mommy fits in pretty good on this track list. I don't think it's really out of place. It's another really fast, vicious ripper, and so many great and heavy riffs. The whole, it's much more minor kind of tonality, and it's not so much that it's not catchy. It's just always dark and minor and heavy. And then we get into side B, which is the Wolf's Blood side. And this is just basically about the concept of being a lycanthrope, werewolf, and the type of guy who's gonna feed on the flesh of his victims. And Danzig really delivers this in a way that's chilling. And this is one of those albums that to me is really exhilarating. Anytime you put it on, just the hairs stand up on the back of your neck because the performance is so raw. And here it goes. Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight? That's maybe my only thing with the bonus tracks, is the vibe is a little off because they're not as deadly serious as the original 8 tracks, or 9 tracks, I guess. They were on the original release. Wolf's Blood, Demonomania is probably, in my opinion, the heaviest Misfits song. It's one of the sickest and best Misfits songs. clocks in at 45 seconds. So this is the kind of deadly precision that Misfits were now bringing to the Misfits style, but it's kind of like Misfits always did horror, but it's almost as if before they were doing, you know, The Bride of Frankenstein, and now they're doing Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's much more real, it's gory, it's in your face, and just the delivery is vicious. It's like a pack of wild dogs just coming straight at your throat, right out of the speaker, every time you listen to it. It's great. Blood Feast is where Danzig does do some of his more melodic vocals on the album. The vocals lean towards a hardcore style, but they're so distinctively Danzig too, because he is always going to throw melodies in there, even when he's doing a rapid fire craziness on something like Death Comes Rippin'. What the freak? Hellhound. And here comes side 2, the lycanthropic side. So, wrote down a couple talking points here, but I may have covered them all. You know, it's a short album, so we could get deeper into the lyrics if need be, but I just wanted to shine a light on Earth AD because it's such a great album. And I don't know if it's underrated in the Misfits catalog or overrated or rated. I think it's rated plenty highly. Songs have been covered by Metallica. I think Cradle of Filth did Death Comes Ripping. And I read that Marduk did Earth AD, but I haven't heard that. So, whatever. But all heavy bands, and super heavy album and great album. One last note. Side 2, we have 2 bonus tracks in Die Die My Darling, which we all know was covered by Metallica, and We Bite. Die Die My Darling, as much as it's a great song, and I do love it, and it's a great performance and recording. The vibe of it, for whatever reason, doesn't fit in that good with the Wolf's Blood concept. Demonomania. These 4 songs go together so good. They really are kind of chilling, and I think it's cool because I know Misfits were always about horror. This is their most horrifying release, which actually this was released 2 months after the band broke up, so it's definitely the final word until Static Age would finally be released in 1996, I believe. Which was their first album, recorded in 78, not released till 96. So, Die Die My Darling, I don't really like there, but what the hell, it's a good song. And We Bite, I love. And I think We Bite fits in good with the Wolf's Blood concept. So, having said all that, all the songs are really short. The Earth AD is 209, and Blood Feast is 229. Everything else is under 2 minutes. We talked about Robo on the drums. Of course, you know, Doyle on the guitars, Jerry Only. And Danzig. And that's it. Earth AD. Killer album. Thanks for hanging out with me for this period of time here in Benny's Alternate Universe. Peace.